Hi, my name is Allayne Stevens, and I am currently a recruiter with Elder Independence Home Care. What we do is we connect caregivers with clients who are facing circumstances where they find that they need assistance in their daily living activities. One of the things that I really enjoy about the work that I do is that we work to bring the right fit of caregiver and client together. One of the greatest gifts that we find in this work is giving opportunity not only for caregiving of the residents in our community, but the opportunity for relationship to develop. And the characteristics of the relationship between a caregiver and a client and their family is that it really brings the capacity for enrichment, for authenticity, and a very safe and still nurturing circumstance. I had the pleasure of meeting and working with Eric when I was caring for my long-term client, Isabelle, in Baltimore, Maryland. Isabelle was faced with cognitive decline and some other aging issues. Her daughter had found out about his services, and we started engaging weekly virtually. And I wasn't sure if the virtual aspect was going to work because of the cognitive decline that I had seen in Isabelle, but it worked. And I think several characteristics of it is because it was music related, and Isabelle, music was a part of her life. We would sing, we would dance. It had just been a part of who she is. Another aspect is Eric himself. I think that it worked because he was able to overcome any boundaries that appear doing something virtually. So while he wasn't in the room itself, Isabelle, when she would hear his voice, would perk up, one thing. Another thing she would do is she would reach out and touch the screen, touch his face, touch him while the sessions were going on. So I knew that there was a genuine connection. Isabelle got to the point where she was pretty nonverbal, and yet music would come on and she would sing perfectly different lines of the music. Her foot would start tapping under the table and she'd have a bounce in, and her face would brighten up. So I saw those things. Isabelle experienced those things when we would have our sessions with Eric. I believe with Eric's ability to reach beyond the boundaries set up by computer screens, anybody who wants to enrich their life with music would benefit from working with Eric. My experience has been seeing the magic that happens with someone who is in cognitive decline, who needs assistance to get themselves dressed and feed themselves and all those things. And yet she comes to life when we had these virtual times. I think that it would truly benefit any of the clients who struggle with cognitive decline, or anybody who maybe otherwise is limited in their activity because it comes into the home. And kind of a side benefit of the virtual sessions is that it broke up our day. So it, while it brought something different into the day, it was consistent. So we met, at particular times during the week. So it was scheduled, but it just kind of broke up her routine. It helped her continue to navigate, it would challenge her cognitively because we were doing something that we didn't do yesterday. So it really helps keep that aspect of our clients' minds working. It engages their souls and their spirits, which is really beautiful. Anybody who is looking to get more enrichment is who I would recommend consider working with Eric. One of the things that I so greatly appreciate working with Eric is how he was a consistent presence in Isabel's life. He worked with our schedules. Sometimes we had last minute rescheduling because she was not having a good day. And he just, over the 2+ years that we were together, he provided a consistent presence for her that allowed her to stay engaged as she went through the decline of being verbal. And again, music seemed to provide a way of communicating and a way of her stepping into the moment of what was happening at that point. And it was lovely. And she would respond to the different therapies and modalities that Eric was offering. When we started, Isabelle was somewhat verbal, and there were some interactions, and she would definitely light up when our session started and would chat with him, and the smile would just exude. And as things changed for her, he worked with different ways to try and engage. There were times when he had her use different instruments to see if that would help her engage in another way. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. One of the phenomenal things is that he knew Isabelle enough that he would make impromptu songs on the spot. There's one that Isabelle loved chocolate chip cookies and coffee, and he made up this song and he sang it to her about her using her name, talking about chocolate chip cookies and coffee. And it just absolutely brought her to life. And there were times when we just were able to incorporate things about Isabelle into those sessions and those times together that made it truly valuable and personable about Isabelle. Another thing I want to say is that Eric was with Isabelle until she passed away. And again, I so appreciate his flexibility, and not just with scheduling, but with the type of day she was having. When it was rough, he would sing songs about sunshine and try and, get her focused on the positive. So it was truly I want to say magical experience watching how he interacted with her and drew her into all the things that those moments had to offer her. Thank you.